Welcome to the Worthiness Rebellion, a sacred revolt where you unlearn self-betrayal and rise into the truth that your worthiness was never up for debate. It's time to speak, time to lead, and time to take up space. I'm your host, Lindsay Morlock. Let's dive in. Hi, everyone. Wow, it has been a minute since I have spoken with you all. And I won't front, season 4 of the podcast was a huge stretch of creative output for me. And while I gave myself a little bit of a break in between season 4 and season 5, the truth is I just needed more time to rest. And I needed more time to integrate. And I needed time to get really clear about how I wanted to continue showing up in this space. And I'm so glad that I gave myself that grace and space to do that, because now I'm feeling rejuvenated, I'm feeling clear, and I'm really ready to move forward. So a little bit about where this podcast is currently headed. I'm stepping into a new way of showing up in this space. One that is less polished, one that is less resolved, and one that's perhaps even more honest. This season of the Worthiness Rebellion isn't about having all the answers, but rather it's about living the inquiry in real time. My intention is to really meet you in the messy middle, the place where discernment and self-trust and real healing are actually forged. Because for me, I think the greatest growth has come from the inquiry. I don't want to be limited in this space in what I speak about, because the truth is, on any given day, I'm moving through something different. So in this space, I want to speak from what I have actually lived and practiced and integrated. And I want to be clear, what I'm claiming in this space comes from my own lived practice and deep self-responsibility, not from presenting myself as finished or fully healed or as a master of anything. So I won't be sharing things from a place of having it all figured out, but I will share from this deep desire and commitment that I have to staying awake, staying honest, and staying responsible to my own truth, and trusting that when we do that, our lives actually begin to change. Because if I've learned anything throughout the course of my own journey, it's that I'm not here to tell you how to live your life. I'm here to model what it looks like to stay in integrity with your own inner authority, even when the path is unclear. So to kick off this new season today, I'm actually here with you completely unscripted. The transmission that follows is a product of I hit the record button and this is what wanted to come through. So let's get into it. Hi, everyone. Happy New Year and welcome back to the Worthiness Rebellion. And as we now enter 2026, I feel that I am turning over an entirely new leaf. I have made some really important decisions about my business, about what type of work feels most aligning for me, what type of work doesn't, how I want to best show up in this space and serve all of you. And in that reflection, I realized and got really clear about what feels authentic to me and what feels fun in this space. And the truth is, I've really hesitated to be my most raw, unfiltered, and unpolished self in this space for a couple of reasons. One, I've recently learned, as Spirit shared with me, that this is where a visibility wound intersects with an abandonment wound, feeling like I'm somehow more protected if I show up perfectly processed and professional and polished and fully understanding the learning behind whatever experiences I've moved through. And while there's no doubt that there is benefit in me sharing in that way, and I will continue to do so at times. What I have found is needed most in this world, especially in this time of AI, people need someone to be real. I think one of the greatest learnings of this past year for me has been a development of my discernment, to drop into my body to understand what is real, what is true, and what feels false. And so much of that is pervasive in our world today, right? From what may or may not be generated by AI on social media, to what feels true or not in relationships, to even the guidance that we receive from spirit. Sometimes the guidance feels perfectly aligned. Other times we're scratching our heads as to why we're being guided in a different way. And when our ego interferes with that guidance, it will distort the guidance. So I feel like it's a very human experience to be navigating times where we are questioning what is real, what is true, and perhaps most importantly, what is love and what is fear. And another reason I've hesitated to show up as my most unpolished and unperfected human self is because, and I laugh as I say this, because I said to Spirit, who's going to want to do this work if they know what the journey really entails? Because it has been hard work and it has been a long, dark night of the soul. It has been a lot of boo-hooing along the way. And I can laugh about that now from the other side of it. But the truth is that it was a really trying, really dark period. And we cycle through these periods. It's not just, oh, I've moved through it and I'm done, right? We keep circling our healing and coming back to old patterns and revisiting things. And so it's a journey. But my greatest learning has come from stopping lying to myself, from not buying the lies that are in front of me, and from creating this new foundation within me of safety, stability, security, and a deep alignment with the love that is the truth of who I really am at my core. It is far from perfect, but it is a practice that I am committed to every single day. And I practice this craft every single day. And so Spirit challenged me because I have some fears around showing up unpolished in this space. But they are encouraging me to really show up in the messy middle, to show up in my own process of inquiry, to help people see in real time how I move through the questions that come up in my life, how I arrive at clarity, probably the mistakes I make along the way, how I'm fumbling through sometimes, and ultimately to be real with every single one of you about this journey. And when I said to Spirit, if I'm really showing up real, nobody's going to want to do this. Spirit actually said to me, well, does that make it any less real? And my whole body relaxed because that's the truth. Me not sharing every nuance of the journey or every hardship of the journey doesn't make the journey less real. And I think one of the things that I have felt disillusioned by in my own journey is there are a lot of spiritual practitioners who act as the authority. They act as if they have mastered their craft. And it is true that there very well may be a certain level of mastery, but what I've learned is I don't know that we can ever fully master ourselves. because I think we continue to grow, we continue to evolve, and the growth and the evolution help us to feel better, to feel more stable, more solid on our journey. But if I have learned anything in this past year, it is that anybody can choose to fall asleep at any time along their path. And if we choose not to be deeply conscious of the mirrors that are being presented to us, how those mirrors are helping us to learn and to grow, how those mirrors are helping us to step into the next iteration of who we are and who we desire to be, we miss the opportunities. And so what I hope this space becomes is a place where you can feel seen for being you, a place where I show up my most messy, real self, so that you too can feel less alone in the thick of evolution. Because this journey is very magical at times. But in my experience, the magic has come as a result of great effort and commitment to practicing my craft every day. And practicing my craft every day looks like meditating. It looks like checking in with my body, understanding what emotions might be in there, looking for witnessing, validating those, but then inquiring deeper. What's the message? What am I being guided to see, to understand? What clarity am I looking to bring into my life? And what do I want to create based on where I am? And how do I allow spirit to guide me along that path? How do I partner and co-create with spirit in this dance in a way that allows me to create what I want in my life, the most ready, the most prepared, and with the most ease it possibly can be, or it can possibly come with? For me, learning how to do that continues to be a process, one that I find is getting easier, but it comes from living the inquiry. I think one of my greatest strengths this past year has been my humility. I am the first person to be honest with myself about where I am not in alignment, where I am in fear, where I need to take more responsibility for my life, for my healing, for my emotions, for action steps I need to take. And because I refuse to gaslight myself, because I refuse to avoid what is happening in my inner experience, that has really served me. But it requires humility. It requires humility to really look within and be honest with ourselves about what we see, what we like, what we don't like, what's working, what's not working, and take great responsibility for the fact that we are not victims of our circumstances, but rather we have the ability to see and own all of these facets of ourselves, bring healing, and allow that to serve as a catalyst for our greatest change moving forward. And the process of that is not linear. It comes with a lot of ups and downs. For me, some days it looks like I'm crying. The next day I'm on top of the world, right? Sometimes I vacillate between those two states all in one day. But what I will tell you is that my former self used to stay stuck in the muck and those lower level emotions, feeling like a victim of my circumstances, feeling like the same things happened to me over and over again, and my life never really changed. And that was true, but it led me to feel constantly disappointed by my life, by my circumstances, and it created a narrative that was like, no matter how hard I work, no matter how much effort I put into things, my efforts don't seem to yield the results that I want, externally especially, but for a long time, even internally. For a long time, I was looking to create this inner sense of stability and happiness and joy and abundance. And although there were moments or periods of time that I was able to cultivate those emotions, the truth is that it was often fleeting. I always felt like something in my external circumstances needed to change in order for me to feel okay on the inside. The past several years of my life has been this journey of learning how to be so deeply comfortable in my own skin with who I am, with what I am here to do, the gifts that I am here to share with the world, and owning who I'm not, and not pretending to be someone that I'm not. And that has required radical integrity, radical honesty with me, within me, about who I am and how I am called to show up in this world. It's been a journey back to my authenticity and allowing what I feel on the inside to be the external representation. It's required a lot of unwinding of societal expectations, norms, ways of being that felt appropriate, giving myself permission to do what works and what's good for me, even if it disappoints other people, right? The journey of reclaiming my own self-worth was this journey back to the home within me. And so now from this place within me, I'm creating my life from an entirely new baseline. I've created within me a foundation of safety, a foundation of security, a foundation of deep peace, and a foundation of deep knowing that I don't need anything outside of me to change in order for me to be happy, in order for me to feel joy, in order for me to receive abundance. Now, I want to be clear. This doesn't mean that there's not things that I want to create and manifest in my external reality. I absolutely am now stepping into all of these different things that I want to create for my life. And I'm okay with this journey as it's unfolding. And to be real, it gets frustrating sometimes. There are times where I want to stamp my feet like a child having a tantrum because things aren't happening as fast as I want them to happen. But the difference now is I quickly come back to my inner foundation. The foundation where I know that everything is unfolding in divine timing. The foundation where I feel safe, secure, and happy right here, right now, without anything else in my external world needing to change. And so the journey to remembering our self-worth is one of finding home within you. It's that journey of finding that place within yourself that is safe, that is comforting, that is nurturing and compassionate. It's this place within yourself that you know everything is okay right here, right now, in this moment, even if there are storms circling you. It's this place we return to where we come back into the truth of who we are, the truth that we are incredible creators of our reality, the place where we remember that even when we feel like we are victims of our circumstances, that we are not, that we have the ability to change everything in our life, even if at the moment, all we can do is change our attitude. We are powerful and it is super messy. So as we move forward with the Worthiness Rebellion, this is how you can expect the content to now unfold. I can't promise that it's going to be linear. I can't promise any kind of storylines or story arcs, although I love telling stories. So likely there will be stories within the episodes. But in this space, I want to meet you where I'm at. Normally, that's going to be in the inquiry of whatever I'm moving through. And my intention is that in hopefully sharing my heart, my process, the questions I wrestle with, what the messy middle looks like, how I'm taking and claiming my agency in those moments will help guide you back to your own. Because one of the most important things that I have learned over the last several years is that every single one of us is a unique spiritual being with a unique purpose. And yet we live in a world that wants us to conform, that claims that there's a right and wrong way of doing things, a world where there is structure and order and expectations to fall in line. But that world is changing. That world is crumbling. We're seeing that constantly in our reality. Everything that no longer works is crashing down. And although things seem very chaotic, I would encourage you to consider perhaps it's resorting everything that no longer works. And there is great power in that. And so in the greater world, things are reordering, but also within you. When you feel those moments of chaos, when you feel the storm come within yourself, when you're wrestling with your own uncertainty or frustration or what the heck is happening with my life, you're in your own storm, you're in your own chaos. And it is helping you to resort and reorder your own life. The question will always be, will you choose to move and lean into it, or will you lean farther away from it? Leaning out of it, moving away from it, isn't going to make the chaos stop. It's just going to prolong the chaos. And so I really hope that I can inspire you to lean in, to find your own best answers, to reclaim your own agency in this healing journey, and to really start to embody who you are and what you are truly meant to bring to this world, how you are truly designed to show up in a way that brings you joy and happiness and abundance. Because to me, that's the Holy Grail, feeling so good on the inside that it almost becomes simpler to handle the chaos and the noise on the outside. What I'm creating here with this podcast, it isn't a map. It's a space for choice. I know firsthand how much I once wanted others to hand me a map, to give me certainty, to tell me how to get from point A to point Z with guarantees. But what I also know now is that following someone else's path actually took me further away from myself. I've learned that no one else's path could ever really lead me back home to me. I needed to find my own way back there. And what I've discovered along the way is that there are so many ways to do that. So instead of teaching you a way through, instead of handing you a specific map, I'm here to help you and support you staying connected to yourself as you create your own map. I'm no longer offering the map because I don't believe that there is one right path. What I really believe in now is in the authority you develop by choosing for yourself. And this space exists to help you strengthen that muscle. So that's where we are this season, and we will see how this journey unfolds. I'm not making any promises because I know that my guidance changes constantly, and I'm just flowing and moving with the guidance. And so this is where I'm at today. So thanks for listening, and I'm going to look forward to chatting with you all next time. Bye for now. If this episode spoke to your soul, I want you to know you don't have to do this alone, but you do have to start with you. Begin with my free quiz to discover which worthiness wound is keeping you small. Then, deepen the conversation by joining me over on Substack. All the links are in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening, and until next time, don't forget, you matter. The Worthiness Rebellion continues.